In June of 2017, a man takes his common-law wife, drops her off at work, is supposed to pick her up 12 hours later, but does not show up. Today we are looking into the case of Louis Jim Stouffer. Is there something we can do to help bring some answers to his common-law wife, his daughter, and his 11 siblings? It's time to turn on the searchlight. Hey everybody, John Lorden here. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Brainscratch Searchlight. Before we jump into the case of Louis Jim Stouffer, I just want to let you guys know there will be no Brainscratch this week. I will be at CrimeCon. And next week on Monday, we do have a release of 3 Men and a Mystery that's still going to be released on the channel. You guys might want to check it out, even if you really haven't been following that case. It is a special all about DNA genealogy. We have interviews with Parabon Nanolabs, GEDmatch, and a DNA genealogist, plus some current news on what's going on with that system. All these great breaks that we've had in cases over the past year might come to a screeching halt. If you want to learn more about that, be sure to check out the next episode of 3 Men and a Mystery being released on Monday. Next week, there will be no Searchlight, and I'll be back the following Friday with a brand new Brainscratch. I remember from last year when I went to CrimeCon, I needed some serious time to recover. It's a lot of work that we're doing the whole time we're there. And keep in mind, Danielle and I, it looks like we will be doing a live stream on Danielle's channel that will be on Thursday night. So that is the 6th of June. 5, 6, yeah. So if you do want to spend some time with me, learn more about the case we covered on Brainscratch this past Friday, you might want to check that one out. That's the Christian Andriacchio case. Check out that Brainscratch, head over to Danielle's channel, watch for the notification about that live stream, jump on and spend some time with us at the PI Experience event at CrimeCon, trying to learn all that we can about that case and maybe hear some good ideas along the way and possible theories, other avenues of investigation. So still some places you can catch me, even though I'm trying to take just a little bit of downtime after CrimeCon. All right, so let's get to today's case. Here is a picture of, his name is actually Louis, but he goes by Jim. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to refer to him as Jim Stouffer. Just a quick stop by his Facebook profile. We can see he's from Buffalo, New York, but currently is listed as living in Farmington, New Mexico. I've gone through his Facebook feed a little bit, kind of just typical family man. You can see his siblings reaching out to him responding here and there. Not a very heavy Facebook user. As a matter of fact, you can see here his last post looks to be June 11th of 2016. Interestingly, that's almost a full year before he actually goes missing, and it's an incomplete post. It just has the letter T. It's one of those things that just makes me kind of wonder, was this post modified in some way? Did someone delete the rest of the text of it? I have no idea what's going on with that. Could it possibly tie to the case? I really don't know. But what is this case? Let's go ahead and jump over to NamUs and get you guys the details. You can see here his middle name actually starts with a G, Louis G. Stouffer. But like I said, he goes by Jim. White Caucasian male, date of last contact June 13th, 2017, missing from Bloomfield, New Mexico. Bloomfield is just a little east of the hometown that he has noted here of Farmington, literally just, I think, 6 or 7 miles east of there. Missing at the age of 50, currently would be 52 years old. Once again, they're noting his alias here as Jim, 5'10", 165 pounds, so pretty slender guy. On top of that, we don't have a lot of information. We've got really no physical description except he has brown hair, blue eyes. We've got his height and weight, but nothing in terms of scars or tattoos, piercings, no distinctive physical characteristics. And on top of that, something that is kind of concerning, no clothing description. Which is very strange when you hear the condition of how he went missing. On top of that, they don't have the transportation information listed. Like I said, his car is found, so we will get to know what that vehicle is, just in case that might jostle the memory of someone out there. If I recall correctly, it is a maroon Hyundai Elantra. that is eventually found. But date of last contact, June 13th, 2017, in Bloomfield, New Mexico. That is in San Juan County. Here's the circumstances. Louis Jim Stouffer dropped his wife off at work. They recently moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. His wife was still working in Bloomfield, New Mexico, and worked a 12-hour shift, 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. Jim was supposed to pick her up at 5 a.m. when she got off work, but never arrived. His car was found on July 5th, 2017 in Aztec, New Mexico. And we're going to get to a map so you can understand. That's just a little north of Bloomington. But all this is pretty close together. I was a little thrown off because of seeing this note about that they recently moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I ran a quick map on that, and Albuquerque is more than, I think, 2.5 hours away from where her job is. So didn't make a whole lot of sense to me that he would be kind of driving her and dropping her off if they were really living in Albuquerque. I don't think that they were living in Albuquerque yet. We'll get to some more information to hopefully help clear that up. Quick stop over at the Charlie Project so you can see another great composite that Megan has put together, getting all the different photos of Jim together so we can see them all in one place here. And as you can see, you know, his look kind of varies a little bit. You take off the ball cap, he looks just a little bit older. Certainly something you want to keep in mind. Looks like he's got sunglasses pretty regularly. You know, 4 of these 6 photos, he's got sunglasses on his head in some way as well. So what can we learn from Megan's work here at Charlie Project? On July 5th, Stouffer's Hyundai Elantra was found abandoned on Navajo Dam Road off of Highway 575 east of Aztec, New Mexico. There was no other sign of him. Authorities stated there was no evidence of foul play in Stouffer's disappearance, but his family believes he came to harm as it's uncharacteristic of him to be out of touch with his family. Just to get a little more information about how the vehicle is found, quick stop at Our Missing Hearts Facebook page. They note his vehicle was found abandoned by an oil worker. Pretty strange case so far. Seems like he just kind of up and disappeared. Perhaps this is a situation where he wanted to leave his life for some reason. He had a long-term girlfriend. He had a daughter with her. She had children from a previous relationship. But I'm not really finding any indicators of major stressors going on in his life, at least with the public information. We're going to get to some more of those details that came in from Nick through a family friend that might paint a bit of a different picture there. But let's go ahead and continue with AztecNews.com. Louis Jim Stouffer dropped his live-in girlfriend, Rose Parker, off at work at a Bloomfield nursing home. According to Bloomfield Police Department Detective Jeremy Duran, on July 5th, his car, they're saying it's a red Honda, I'm almost positive it's a Hyundai Elantra, was recovered on an oil and gas access road off of Highway 575. Now, I've also heard kind of 2 descriptions for where the vehicle was found. So here we're going to jump to a map and take a quick look. So it's funny because the other description I've heard actually mentions Highway 174, but I believe that that's a typo. I think they're actually talking about Highway 173, which is the Navajo Dam Road. Now, there is a split that happens from that highway where it splits off to 575 here. So because I'm hearing a difference of opinion on where this is, it could be that the vehicle is actually found on a road that's in between these 2 highways. Something like that's what I'm imagining. So probably somewhere close to here. And you can see Aztec, the town of Aztec is just over here. If we kick on the satellite view, get a bit of a better sense of, this is a proper town that you've got going on over here. We can see they've got all the usual services, schools, restaurants, parks, campgrounds, a lot of homes that are around, and of course a lot of green. There's a river that is running through here as well. But out in this area where we're looking for where his vehicle is found, not a whole lot. However, if you actually drop down closer to the actual street level, you will see that there are homes occasionally scattered around here. So I'm not sure if this is a foul play situation. I'm not sure if the person might have been dropping the car there, potentially because this was close to their home or close to a friend of theirs. Maybe that could give them a ride back to their home, something along those lines. So I know on the satellite view, it looks like it's just out in the middle of the desert, but there are actually a lot of structures, not very close together, but structures that are happening pretty frequently out in this area. Let's go ahead and pull it back so you can just see what we're talking about. Here is the town of Bloomfield, and from Bloomfield to an approximate location of where his vehicle is found is only about 14 miles. It looks like Aztec, I would estimate, is about 9 or 10 miles directly north of Bloomfield. And if we look over here to the west, this is the town of Farmington. And I actually did run some address checks on him. All the addresses I'm seeing for him are actually in Farmington. It looks like he's lived there for a number of years, at least I think since around the year 2000. So the whole thing about them living in Albuquerque at this point, I don't believe has happened yet. I think they were planning on moving to Albuquerque, and that Rose had given notice at her job. But I don't think, it's hard to tell for sure. I don't think they were actually living in Albuquerque yet. Let's go ahead and continue. The car was observed there that Monday, and I believe that was the 3rd of July. This is according to Detective Jeremy Duran. It was reported to the sheriff's office, and given how dry it was, it's kind of hard to get a good grasp on how long that car had been there, but it only appeared to have been there maybe since Friday, so he's estimating around July 1st, so just a matter of a few days before. First spotted on the 3rd, they go and retrieve it on the 5th. According to Duran, the car has given up no physical evidence at this time. Stouffer was not an avid hiker or outdoorsman, so we're certainly not looking at a situation like the Kenny Veach mystery, something along those lines. Duran said he has no knowledge that Stouffer has any history of mental illness or drug use. I do just want to make a little clarification there. I don't know why Duran wouldn't necessarily know this, but I am hearing that he might have struggled with drugs in the past. I can tell you guys based on what I'm seeing, obviously notes like this, but on all the current media, I'm not really seeing any signs that that was a current struggle for him. But I did just want to put that out there because you never know if people are going through particular stressors. Sometimes they could revert to old habits, and something like that might have grabbed him again. I think it's a slight possibility. Don't know if that's exactly what we're looking into here, but I want to make sure that you guys are keeping your eyes and minds open to all of the different possibilities that we could have going on in this case. Duran said, we've been looking basically into any other people that may have seen him, any use of the phone, and so forth. Very important thing there. That statement leads me to believe that he actually has his cell phone with him. I did note on his Facebook page, it does look like he has a cell phone. So here we're getting a little clue from the detective in this case that they're possibly looking into tracking his phone location as well. We're currently trying to find video so we can absolutely show he was here at this time, and we will go from there. According to Duran, Rose Parker reported Stouffer missing on or about June 19th. When asked if Stouffer had a history of leaving the home without word, Duran stated, he has for a day or two, but not for this length of time. I'm a little concerned when I hear about missing person reports coming in later than you would expect. Now, you know, the last confirmed sighting is June 13th. And she says he does have a history of, for a day or two, he might go off and kind of disappear. So even if you consider that, you would think by the 15th or 16th, she's probably starting to get relatively concerned. Unfortunately, it's not reported until the 19th. And we know in cases like this that time is very, very important. You want to get those eyes open and those investigators working as soon as possible because leads do dry up. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes I look at that situation and I wonder, is there something going on here because this missing persons report wasn't filed that quickly? I can't imagine a situation like that in particular with Rose. I mean, she's at work for 12 hours. So her being involved in some aspect of this and then being leery of making that missing persons report, I don't know. I don't feel a strong pull in that direction. I certainly don't have a whole lot of information to point us in that direction. One possible little wrinkle we're going to look into with some of the personal information that came in through the family friend. Possible. That's why I just wanted to point it out to you guys. But Jim Stouffer is one of 11 children, now adults, originally from Buffalo, New York. Edmund Sinnott of Durham, North Carolina, described his brother Jim as a loving father and sports fan. He's a big Buffalo Bills fan, of course. I've also seen some other mention that he's a Sabres fan. According to Sinnott, Stouffer enjoys nature, which is why he moved to New Mexico. Sinnott admits that given the time that has passed, it is increasingly difficult to remain optimistic about a positive outcome to the investigation. On behalf of the entire family, Sinnott, I think they have a typo there, wanted to express his deep gratitude to the community for the outpouring of concern and support during this difficult time. Let's go ahead and continue at thedailytimes.com. Family continues search. This is from August 11th, 2017. Another of his brothers, Shane, flew in from Buffalo, New York, and Ed flew in from Raleigh, North Carolina on Monday to help generate more interest in the case of their missing brother. The brothers spent their week canvassing Albuquerque, Aztec, Bloomfield, and Farmington from Monday to Thursday before flying home today. About 860 flyers were distributed in the cities. The brothers tried to reach out to as many law enforcement agencies as they could during that time. We're just trying to flood the market with his face so that people see him and know we are looking for him, Ed said. Billboards displaying Stouffer's photo are scheduled to be installed next week. We can see we've got siblings that are being very active, working very quickly. I mean, we're about a month after the vehicle is discovered, and they're literally boots on the ground trying to shake things up and get his face out there. I think it's really admirable and important that you have action happening that quickly in something like this. And I'm just thankful that they were able to do that they had the resources and availability to get that done in that way. The brothers said the reception they've gotten from community members they've spoken to has been generous and sincere. The brothers said they would talk to him 2 or 3 times a week, and it was out of the ordinary for Stouffer to go missing. Stouffer and Parker were preparing to move to Albuquerque. There we go. So there's a clarification on the whole Albuquerque thing. Right before he disappeared, Stouffer had been frequenting the Farmington flea market on weekends, buying and selling goods. A little bit of an interesting point there, just kind of points to another possibility. Was he having financial problems, or was this just a pastime or a hobby of his? Just something to consider as we're going through this. Continuing at another article over at Aztec News from December 8th, 2017, we're going to get a lot of detail, and I'm really thankful that they stayed on this case. You know, sometimes it takes a matter of months before you can really put together an article that has a lot of good, solid detail, and that's exactly what they're doing here. On July 5th, Stouffer's red, they're saying Honda again, but I'm pretty sure it's a Hyundai Elantra, was found on an oil and gas access road off of Highway 174, which I believe is actually 173, because they're noting it here. It's Navajo Dam Road. Authorities launched a search of the immediate area that included a SJCSO helicopter, that is San Juan County Sheriff's Office helicopter, and members of New Mexico Badlands Search and Rescue Team using specially trained dogs. The search was unsuccessful. Last August, Stouffer's brother Edmund Sinnott traveled from North Carolina to aid in the ground search, which turned up 4 personal items that were positively tied to Stouffer. In a recent phone interview with the Talon, Sinnott declined to disclose what exactly the items are because of the ongoing investigation. Sinnott reports that local bail bondsman Christine Eicher has volunteered hundreds of hours on horseback scouring the area around where the car was located. Sinnott and family want to express their sincere thanks to Eicher for her ongoing efforts. I think it's pretty cool that someone would donate their time in that way. So I also want to express my thanks to Christine. According to Sinnott, the investigation has resulted in clues that only deepen the mystery of Stouffer's disappearance. We've been able to build a 6-day timeline from the 13th to June 19th. So they're putting a timeline together kind of after his disappearance. We've received 2 contacts with 100% certainty. So they're saying that there is him either reaching out to someone or possibly being seen by someone, and they are 100% certain that it's him. We know that he was alive at that time. Also, on June 28th, just a few days before his car was located, his car was definitely spotted. Now, that one's interesting, and I like that they're making the distinction there, because just because his car was spotted doesn't mean that he was driving it, if it was moving or if it was just parked possibly. It doesn't mean that he's a person that left it there. But if they're talking about two contacts and they're 100% certain that it was him, we have some strange condition going on here, because he hasn't been reaching back out to his common law wife for this period of time. So is there something else that just hasn't been reported? Is there some kind of marital strife going on, something in the relationship? Does he want to possibly leave his life for some reason, kind of get away from things for a period of time? I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of detail about these contacts as they're referred to here. We're going to get into some more information that came in through that family friend, but let's go ahead and continue here. Senate said, obviously the holidays are particularly difficult and emotional for us. Keep in mind, this is an article from December. We get together and look at photos and reminisce. Then it ends up we're trying to do detective work. We start asking each other, what have we missed? Are we doing as much as we can do? If we are not talking about Jimmy, we are not going to find him, Senate said. We just want to do whatever we can to make the public aware that Jim is still missing and for people to remain vigilant for any sign of him. And at this point, I just want to ask if you have friends in the New Mexico area, please share this video with them. Please, let's raise exposure to this case. I've found a decent amount of media, but it's not a ton of media. We're not talking real national coverage on this case. So anything that we can do as a group of brain scratchers together to help raise exposure to this, I know this family is going to appreciate, and I'm going to deeply appreciate. So if you have friends in New Mexico, please send them this video. A SJCSO source said that although they didn't have all the details on the Stouffer investigation, it did not appear to be a case of voluntary disappearance. Pretty interesting point of view. I'm really wondering about those 2 points of contact, or if those are legit sightings, because if he's at least acting of his own free will in those sightings, we have to assume that some part of this story is him not getting back to his common law wife for some reason. But it sounds like, at least from this particular source, they don't think that this is a voluntary disappearance, and we know his family certainly does not think that this is a voluntary disappearance. Another article from dailytimes.com from December 17th, 2017. Information from his brother, Nick Sinnott. He is visiting San Juan County from Europe, where he's stationed as a member of the U.S. Air Force. We're trying to get some closure before the holidays, Nick said. Detective Orlando Marino of the Bloomfield Police Department said the agency is still working on the case, but he said there is no suspicion of foul play. Kind of an interesting change there. And once again, it's hard to know without knowing the details of this case, but we have no idea what the items that were found are. It would be curious to me if one of those items could possibly be his wallet or something like that. You know, I'm always looking at those conditions. Is the person that's missing, do they have means of taking care of themselves? And if they don't, you know, like obviously if his wallet and his ATM cards and all his cash was left behind and he didn't do some major pull on his bank account or something like that, that really leads me to looking at these situations and saying, you know, the chance of foul play is higher in these conditions. Is it still a blatant sign of foul play, a trail of blood leading somewhere? No, obviously not. But I'm just curious about those items and what they could mean to investigators. Investigators are looking into reports of a man seen with Stouffer around the time of his disappearance, Moreno said. Nick identified the man as Brennan Johnson and added that he was spotted with Stouffer the day he disappeared. So first time we're hearing that name, and interesting that we have a detective saying we don't think this is a foul play scenario, but we do want to talk to this guy that he was last seen with. I don't know. You guys take that for what it means. Over at aztecnews.com, another article from December 29th, 2017. The title of this article, Was It Murder? The family and authorities are seeking any information on the whereabouts of Brennan Johnson, 27, of Farmington. According to Sinnott, Stouffer was positively identified as being in the company of Johnson as late as June 19th, 6 days after Stouffer's June 13th disappearance. So that's interesting. We've now got this person who's in a considerably different age range than Jim. Kind of wondering what that relationship is built on. Maybe we'll get some details about how they met each other here, but also that the sighting of them being together is actually after his disappearance. This is on June 19th, the same day that the missing persons report is being filed by his common law wife. Apparently, Stouffer had recently befriended Johnson. This guy, Johnson, could very well be the last or one of the last people to have seen Jim, Sinnott said. According to nmcourts.com, Johnson currently has a warrant for failure to pay a fine on a misdemeanor no proof of insurance ticket, but no felony criminal history. Sinnott speculated that the vehicle was left at the site in an effort to confuse authorities and basically send searchers in the wrong direction. Based on the things found around the car, we believe the scene was staged. I don't think Jim was ever there. I hate to say it, but at this point, I think it's possible Stouffer was murdered someplace else and the car was purposely placed there after the fact. Once again, just really has me scratching my brain about what are these items and how can we come to these conclusions about it. Sinnott does not believe that his brother's disappearance is a case of midlife crisis. I wish to God that would be the case, that he's like on a beach someplace. The second clue is a long shot. According to Sinnott, the Stouffer household has received numerous phone calls from an unidentified caller. The caller does not speak, but can be heard breathing on the other end. Stouffer and the Sinnott families are asking for any information about anyone connected to the phone number. And I can tell you guys, I did some reverse searches on that phone number, did find someone that it's registered to. I have handed that information off to Nick. I don't know. This article is being very clear and fair about it. This is a long shot. Is this a pocket dial of some kind? Is something else going on with these phone calls? I don't know. Interestingly, the phone number is from the New Mexico area. So at this point, I want to share with you guys the information that came in from the family friend. Jim moved to New Mexico in the 1990s due to his love of nature, but he's not a hiker, however. And keep in mind, this is a family friend that is essentially taking notes while Nick is talking about him. So that's kind of the chain of information that's coming our way right now. Jim worked on the oil rigs for many years. He had previously owned a moving company, but eventually had to close that business. He was currently being treated for a medical issue at the time, and due to the treatments, he couldn't work. So now we're hearing about a potential big stressor. First of all, if he can't work, he's not making money just to live life. But then on top of that, if he's fighting some type of medical issue, you're also racking up bills at the same time. So this makes me wonder about the whole flea market aspect to this. Like, is he going there because he's selling off things that he thinks can make money to possibly cover his bills for a period of time or something along those lines? To earn money, he was selling items at the flea markets on the weekends in Farmington, New Mexico, and that's where he met Brennan Johnson. On the day he disappeared, he dropped Rose off at work and was last seen at a laundromat on camera. There have been two other sightings, one on June 13th and one on 19th. I was informed the sighting on the 19th was by an uncredible source and that Jim was seen with Brennan Johnson. Brennan has never been located despite police looking to speak with him. I've also done a little search on Brennan. I found some other addresses for him in a completely different state. I've sent that information to Nick as well. I don't know if that's older information or more current information, and don't even know if it's actually still valid. It could be that those are just old addresses of his, but I just wanted to make sure that Nick had that. And the vehicle was taken into police custody and forensically searched. No evidence was found, and then it was returned. Jim had previously stated to his sister that he owed someone some money, however, did not elaborate. So once again, some more indicators about potential money issues going on here. Jim was also in the process of selling some items to some, quote, shady character to earn some money due to not working. Now, here's an interesting point. We talked about the phone a little bit early in the story, and then we really didn't hear any other updates about it. According to this family friend, the phone was turned over to the police, but had been wiped clean prior to handing it over. So I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know if someone that is involved in the story found the phone and it had been wiped and they turned it over to the police. Is that maybe one of the 4 items that was found by the brothers? I have no idea. Or was this phone found at home by Rose, and then she turned it over to the police, but it had already been wiped? Those details could really help us understand this a bit better. We don't have them, but one way or another, either someone wiped his phone or he wiped his phone. And either of those cases, I mean, they could point to 2 very different conclusions, but neither of them is very good. Jim also has had some issues with Rose's sons from her previous relationship and had some physical altercations with them. So that's something where I don't have a lot of pieces to make this story, but I'm just saying we did have one little consideration about why did it take Rose so long to file the missing persons report. And now I'm hearing from the family friend, there might have been some tough relationship between Jim and Rose's sons from the previous relationship. Could that play into his disappearance? I have no idea. Just another possibility I want to throw out to you guys so that we get as complete a picture as we can of the potential factors at play here. So let's go ahead and continue with another article over at KOB.com. Just some more comments from Nick as we're rounding this out. If I could do anything for my siblings, anything for the wife, for his beautiful daughter, it's to bring home a beautiful Christmas present, and that would be him. Whether he is alive or not, I just want to bring closure, said Nick. Lewis did things for people, did things for us, never expecting nothing in return, Sennett said. I know there are a couple people that I feel are withholding information, and all it takes is one tip. That one tip can make a difference in bringing our brother home. You regular viewers know that's a big part of the reason why we're doing this video. If you are the person that has that tip, has that information that could help put this family to rest on this issue, please use the contact information in the detail box below. I've got 2 different numbers down there, and there is a reward available for information that leads to Jim's return. So please do the right thing. Use that contact information and help this family find the answers that they're so desperately looking for. Also in the description box below, of course, all the links for everything we've looked at today. I'm also going to include Nick's Facebook page down there. Maybe you want to send the tips directly to him. So that will be in the sources down below. Also want to give a big thank you to Mysteriously Missing, who did a podcast version of this case. I really appreciate their approach. I think we're cut from the same cloth in terms of how we respect these cases and how we present the information. So I just wanted to call them out, especially on YouTube. Looks like they need a little help growing. So if you want to look into more missing persons cases, check out Mysteriously Missing. A link to their video is in the sources down below, and from there you can easily subscribe to their channel. Also, a link to a web sleuth thread, if I could say it right. I always get web sleuths wrong. It's only 1 page, not a ton of information, but a lot of links. Most of them are already going to be in the description box down below. And thank you to that family friend. There is a new GoFundMe that has been started specifically to help find Jim Stouffer. It looks like you can see it was created 2 hours ago. They don't have their first donation yet, but thanks to my amazing supporters on PayPal and Patreon, they're going to get their donation just as soon as I'm done filming this video, and we'll get this fund started. We know that they're spending money on hundreds of flyers. We know they're spending money on travel to go to this location. The billboard that they had put up, unfortunately, had to be taken down because they couldn't keep up with the price of it. So please consider donating to this GoFundMe. There's a link to it near the top of the description box down below. And once again, huge thank you to my supporters on PayPal and Patreon so we could participate in this and help kick off this GoFundMe. And with that being said, let me thank some new people that are now contributing, starting with new patron Ember DeFazio. Thank you so much, Ember. Big thank you to Emma Rostron with a monthly donation through PayPal. Thank you so much, Emma. And finally, a one-time donation that is also in honor of someone. This is from Sophie Batal, and it's in honor of her niece, Caroline Dumbrecht, who was killed last year in Belgium. Really sorry to hear about that, Sophie, and thank you so much for helping to support the channel, helping me help other people like we're doing on today's episode. If you'd also like to support the channel, please visit www.lordandarts.com. All right, Brain Scratchers, this is where I turn it over to you. What do you think is going on with this case? The way I'm seeing it, we have maybe a slim, but I do think there's a possibility that Jim maybe wanted to run away from his situation. We've got another possibility, Brennan Johnson. What is this person in terms of this story? Does he play a more significant role? We've got another possibility, someone else, someone unnamed that we haven't heard of yet. Is this about family strife, something going on between Rose's sons and him? Is this about something going on between him and Rose, and maybe that's why he wanted to leave? A lot of different possibilities here, but I know that we've got a lot of family members very concerned about where Jim is. So let's discuss this in the comments below. As usual, I'm going to ask that we please remain as respectful as possible. I want us to be able to be open and share our thoughts and theories, but do keep in mind that his family is going to see this video. They are going to be reading through those comments, and they're looking for help. So if you've got a helpful comment, be sure to drop that down there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Searchlight. Keep in mind, no Brain Scratch this week, but I will be popping up on Danielle Hallen's channel if you want to check me out over there. 3 Men and a Mystery back on Monday. Brain Scratch back next Friday. I will see you there right here on the Lord and Arts channel.